So today we will begin Harinamamrta Vyakarana, and those who don't want to hear Harinamamrta Vyakarana, today maybe you can stay because I'm just going to speak in general about Sanskrit Bhasha, importance of this language, so it may be of interest to everybody. Okay? So Harinamamrita Vyakaranam, this is composed by Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada, and it is actually an amazing work. Although those who are fan of Panini, they do not appreciate it, because those who have studied Panini, they think, what is this? But if you study it, actually he has done a very great work. I mean, it is true that Panini is the godfather of any Vyakarana at present. What we have at present is only Panini. The oldest Vyakaranam is Panini's Vyakaranam. And what he has done is truly amazing. There is absolutely no doubt about it. The way he has put the whole Vyakaran principles along with the Siddhanta of Vyakarana into these sutras is quite amazing. Before him there were many other Vyakaranas. He himself named some of them. Spotayana, Apsili, Chandra Vyakarana, Indra Vyakarana. There is in Mahabhashya Patanjali statement that Indra, he studied Vyakaranam for 1000 Divya Varsha, divine years, from Brihaspati, his teacher, his guru, and still it was not complete, because the system at that time was to study the words, word by word. Like you have Rama, then you have Jalam, you have, say, Mitram, or you have Nadi. So you study each word, each dhatu, how they are formed. There was no organized system like this that you understand. If it is Pullinga, Akaranta, this is how the form will be. This was the job of Panini. So Vyakaranam is vast, even at present. You will be just amazed how much is there if you want to study it. But since our life is limited, then Panini made it simplified, but even that is not easy. Panini wrote Astadhyayi, so he wrote about 3,996 sutras, which are divided into 8 chapters, each chapter having 4 padas. And there is a very actually scientific system how he has put it. Then there is division of Sapadi and Tripadi, means first 7 chapter and the first pada of the 8th chapter make one division, and then last 3 divisions of the 8th chapter they make one part, and the sutras there and sutras there, they are asiddha. So there is a lot of science behind it. But as we will read, Jiva Goswami, he simplified it. What is available there, he made it simple for the Vaishnavas especially. He especially wrote it for the devotees, so that you don't have to study that for that many period. So Dvadas Bhivar say Vyakaranam Shruyate. Vyakarana is studied for 12 years. because you study Mahabhashya, then you study the commentaries. It takes time. Then second thing is that those sutras, they do not have the names of Krishna in it. So Maheshwar sutras are there. Ayun Rilak Ayong Ayoch Havarat Yamaganam Jabgaya Gardas. All these 14 Maheshwar sutras are there. Ikoyanchi Vridhiradech. So Jiva Goswami made the sutras having names of Krishna because Mahaprabhu, when he met Ishwarpuri at Gaya and came back from there, then he was explaining the Vyakarana sutras. He was teaching Katantra, I think, Katantra Vyakarana in Bengal at that time. Kalapa or Katantra, one of them. So he started explaining everything in relationship with Krishna, Bhakti. And people thought that he has gone mad. So taking that as a clue, then it is believed that first Rupa Goswami wrote the Laghu Harinamamrta Vyakarana, and then Jiva Goswami took that over and wrote the Brihat. So this is called Brihat, or the big one, although now it is going only by the name of Sri Harinamamrta Vyakarana, but there is also Laghu one. So that is the little bit of history behind it. But what is the importance of studying? Many times people say, why we have to study Vyakarana? Why we have to study Sanskrit? They don't say Vyakarana, but Sanskrit. Can we not be a devotee without knowing Sanskrit? So first of all, we have to know that we have to have knowledge of at least one language, Bhasha. Because that is the speciality of human beings. That human beings have two specific, besides other two very special characteristics, that they can speak and they can think in an organized manner. They can organize their thoughts, put them together, make conclusions, and they can speak. So what is actually the purpose of this? So we know that everything has a purpose, right? So what is the purpose of language? So generally speaking, in Indian system, Indian culture, they said that there are four purposes, right? Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. At present they say that there is only one purpose, Kama. So out of these four, the real purposes of life are only two. One is Kama, other is Moksha. Because Dharma and Artha are not real purpose. They are only instruments for something else. Artha, wealth, power, is not a purpose in itself, but it is helpful to get you Kama or Moksha. Similarly, Dharma is also not a purpose in itself, but Swarg Kamo Yajet, we studied that. So, Chodana Lakshana Artho Dharma. So, Dharma is to go to heaven, which means Kama. So, common understanding is that Dharma and Artha is for Kama. And in Purvamimamsa, Kama is similar to Moksha. Yanna dukkhena sambhinnam na cha grastam anantaram. Swabhilasopnitam cha tatsva aspadat padam. So that definition of heaven which they are giving, Swarga, is like Moksha. Because it says Yanna grastam anantaram. Yanna dukkhena sambhinnam, which is not mixed with suffering, which is not swallowed by anything else, where all your desires are fulfilled. Swabhilasopnitam cha. That is they call as Swarga. So basically it is like Moksha, although they do not say that it is an eternal position. They seem to say also that Apama soma amritama bhuma. You'll drink soma, will become immortal. So that means moksha. So in Indian thinking, the ultimate purpose is moksha, which Jiva Goswami explains in Priti Sandarbha, includes Priti also, because Priti is also a type of moksha. But in the modern understanding, when there is no religion involved, no dharma involved, then kama becomes the purpose of life. So that kama, when it becomes the purpose of life, that also becomes the source of suffering. If your goal is only enjoyment, kama means enjoyment or objects, acquiring objects of enjoyment. So if that is the only purpose of life, then it will lead you to suffering. Right? Yahi sansparsja bhoga dukhyone evate adyantavanta konte nateshu ramte buddha. Krishna very clearly says this. Kamasya na indre priti labho jivete yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa nache artho iha karma bhi. So kamasya na indriya priti. The kama or the sense objects are not meant just to gratify your senses. Why? Because that will only bring you suffering. So you may think that you are enjoying, but that is only a very limited vision of life. And that's what we see, that modern science, modern technology, modern thinking is causing people suffering. Although we do not think like that, we do not see it, we think we are progressing. But actually we are not. Because progress means that we are happier than before. Progressing does not mean that I live in a bigger house now. I may be living in a bigger house, but I am miserable. I am lonely, I am feeling empty, sad. So that is not progress. The status or the test of progress is how happy I am, how satisfied, how content I am. So kama alone can never satisfy, because this kama is external to us. It is a sansparsja. It is born by touch. Right? So indriyarth sannikars janam jnanam prataksha. What is prataksha? What is experience? When indriya and vishaya, they come in contact. So that's what Krishna says, sansparsja bhoga. And that is dukhyoni. That is the cause of dukkha, suffering. It's very clear. So therefore, Buddha, the intelligent people are those who do not run after that. So similarly, why I am bringing this issue is that this language which we have the facility to understand and speak, this also has a purpose. So that purpose is Vachansi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnani. Savai Manah Krishna Padar Vindayo Vachansi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnani. So Ambarish Maharaj, he engaged his mind in thinking about the feet of Krishna. Krishna Padarvinda. And his speech, Vachansi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnani. In describing the characteristics, pastimes of Vaikuntha, which is Krishna. Otherwise, it is called Dardurik eva. Jivha sati Dardurik eva suta Nayopagayati Urgaya Gatha. So if the tongue is not used for singing, for describing Bhagavan Krishna's qualities, activities, names, then it is the tongue of a frog. Dardura. Dardura means frog. So that tongue is called Darduriki, the tongue of a frog. So bilay bataur ukram vikraman ye na shrinuvanti karnapute narasya. If we do not hear the pastimes of Krishna, then our ears are like the two holes for snakes. So the meaning is that just as the purpose of life is not only kama, kama is needed. Labho jivata yavata, Bhagavatam says, for our sustenance, for our living, we need objects for our senses. We need food, we need something, seeing, smelling, all these things are necessary to maintain this body. The body has certain requirements. But that is not the purpose. Just like when we have a car, it needs some gas or diesel, petrol, whatever to run. But the purpose of car is not just I keep on filling it with petrol and that's all. Car is not designed for that. Right? So body is not designed just because I fill it up with sense objects. No, it has to do something else. Life is a journey. It's a yatra. So just as car is meant for a journey to move, to reach a destination, for that you need petrol or diesel or whatever gas. So that is labho jivata yavata. That is the meaning of labho jivata yavata. Just as car is not just because I have a car, I keep on putting petrol in it. And then I think this is great. Well, then you have to take it somewhere. Like that body is not just meant that for every sense I keep on giving some objects to it. No, it has a purpose. It's a journey, and that journey is to reach the fourth Purushartha or Pancham Purushartha, fifth one. So therefore, Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa. That is the purpose. So therefore, the purpose of language is also that. And that's why we should study Sanskrit, because this purpose cannot be fulfilled by any other language. No other language talks about moksha. No language, Eastern or Western, talks about moksha except Sanskrit talks about that. So therefore, Vyakarana is one of the Vedangas. There are 14 Vidyas, sometimes called 18. Where is, I want to share screen. Hmm? Hmm?
Do you see it?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so everybody can see the screen. So these are the 18 Vidyas which are described here. Angani Vedas Chatvara Mimamsa Nyaya Vistaraha Dharma Shastram Puranam Cha Vidya Hi Eta Chaturdasha Ayurvedo Dhanurvedo Gandharvas Cheti Tetraya Artha Shastram Chaturtham Cha Vidya Hi Ashtadasha Evata. So in India there are 18 types of Vidyas, knowledge systems which are described. So 4 Vedas, 6 Vedangas, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Dharma Shastra, Purana. This makes 14. 6 plus 4 plus 4. And then there are 4 Upavedas, Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharveda, Artha Shastra. So 18 Vidyas. So out of that there are 6 Vedangas. Among the 18 Vidyas there are 6 Vedangas, or the limbs of Veda, and one of them is Vyakarana. So these 18 Vidyas are meant, what is the purpose of? The purpose is that through them you reach your ultimate goal, that is Krishna Prema. Vedascha sarvairahameva vedya Vasudeva paraveda. What is the purpose of Veda? Is to reach Krishna, to know Krishna. So to know Krishna you have to study this. But all these Vedas are written in Sanskrit. Veda, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Dharma Shastra, Purana, everything is in Sanskrit. So therefore it is said in Mahabharata as well as in Maitrayani Upanishad, which is there, the first sloka, those who can see the screen. Dve brahmani veditavya shabda brahma param chayat shabda brahmani nishnata para brahmadhi gacchati. That you have to understand two Brahman. Dve brahmani veditavya. Everybody has a desire to know something, right? People are all the time these days on their phone, watching this, seeing this, cell phone, right? Continuously some messages are coming, you're reading. So that means there is a very intense desire to know. And right? And so much knowledge is being transferred now at present, which never happened ever in the history of this earth planet. Unless there was another time when there was a cell phone. But in the absence of cell phone, this never happened. But that is again misuse. So we see that the faculties which we have, they can be used or misused. Now it's all misuse. It's all darduriki eva. It's all absolute misuse, and therefore there is so much suffering. Now you know this, how the corona, COVID, whatever you call it. COVID actually means Covida, means very smart, wise. It is a wise virus. Covida. It is a Pandit, learned. So it's not going to go away just like that. You can have your vaccine, it will mutate, come back, no problem. Then find another one. They call it booster. I learned from Tanmay. At least I got some words now. So then you get a booster, it will mutate, then get another one. This is the cycle of this material world. Prahlad Maharaj says that here in the material world, the solution is worse than the problem. So you find a solution, then it's another problem. And then after a few years, I guarantee that this virus will have some side effect. All the people say, no, why you're saying it? But because of the nature of this material world, it is bound to have something which you will not know now. And they will spend millions and billions of dollars to figure out that actually it is coming from this. It's always like that. It has to have. It's designed like that. That's why it is COVID. Smart guy. It's not leave you. So it is sin. It is a whack of sin. Take it happily, right? Give me sin. So it is going to continue because all these things are not designed with proper vision. You may say that we have come from amoeba and all Darwin's theory of this or that. You can say all this, but nobody has the vision of life. It is only the Indian sages who had the perfect understanding of life. And therefore they designed a system which was free from this. In Manusmriti it is described that all these things which you are inventing are going to cause problem. They are listed on the Upapatakas. There are Mahapatakas, Patakas and Upapatakas. So Pataka means which makes you fall down. Like Pachaka means one who cooks. Pataka means which takes you down, Patli Dhatu. So they will take you down, but we are thinking we are going up, we are progressing. This is the interesting thing. So this you can understand if you study the Vedas. And you cannot understand that unless you study Vyakarana. Vyakarana is not grammar, by the way. I will maybe translating, but it is a loose translation. Vyakaranam is not grammar. Don't think that Sanskrit Vyakaranam is grammar. It is a philosophy. It contains grammatical principles, but it has a very deep philosophy behind it. If you study Vyakaranam, then you will actually reach Brahman. That's why it says, Shabda Brahmani Nishnata Par Brahma Digachat. That if you become expert in Shabda Brahma, you will reach Par Brahma. Without Shabda Brahma, you cannot reach Par Brahma. It is for that reason that God has given us speech and intelligence, so that you can study Shabda Brahma and then go to Par Brahma. But now we are misusing that we are doing everything, we are studying all types of things except the Shabda Brahma. And then saying why we have to study. So this Vyakaranam is called the mouth of the Veda. Shiksha Grahanam tu Vedasya Mukham Vyakaranam Smritam. So Mukha means the mouth. Mukha also means the prime. There are 6 Vedangas. Out of them Vyakaranam is the most important. Because if you don't have Vyakaranam, then there is nothing. Chanda, Kalpa, Nirukta, Jyotish, nothing will work. You will not understand anything. This is the basis. This is the foundation. So just like in our body, our face, our mukha is the important, That's why you have the word mukhya, prime. Right? You have like Mukhya Mantri, Prime Minister or Chief Minister, whatever. Mukhya comes from the word mukha. Mukhe bhava iti mukhya. So mukha is the prime thing. So that is Vyakaranam. So that means if we do not know Vyakaranam, means we don't have the face. And if you don't have the face, what are you? You are a ghost. Right? You remember that in Ramayana there is one asura like that. It's called Kabandha, who was killed by Bhagwan Ram. So Kabandha means he doesn't have a face. He has eyes here. He has a face here in the chest.
I think when he's searching for Sugriva at that time.
Something like that. So his name is Kabandha. Kabandha means that he cannot have a sambandha with Bhagwan. Because if you don't have a face, don't have a mouth, you cannot know Sabda Brahma. Right? How will you reach Parabrahma? That is the meaning of Kabandha. So he is only having hands and he is only putting it inside. And this is the modern human being. This is the modern human being is a Kabandha. They don't have any sambandha with anybody. They don't know how to have sambandha. Relation is a big problem for modern human beings. So that's why Vedasya Mukham Vyakaranam Smritam. So Vyakarana is called the Mukha of the Veda. Means it is through that you can enter into the Veda. Like somebody wants to enter inside you, then go through the mouth. So, therefore there is a sloka, Upasaniyam yatnena Shastram Vyakaranam Mahat Pradeepa Bhutam Sarvasam Vidyanam Yad Avasthitam. He says with great effort, Mahat Yatnena Vyakaranam Shastram Upasaniyam. You should worship the Shastra called Vyakaranam with great effort. Worship means studying it. Worship does not mean take agarbatti and ghee lamp and do this. So there is no mahat yatna involved in that. There is no big effort involved in that. So this requires big effort. That's why he's saying that Upasaniyam yatnena Shastram Vyakaranam Mahat. Actually it is Mahat Shastram. Mahat is not with Yatnena, but Mahat Shastram Vyakarana. This is the great Shastra. Why is this it considered as a great Shastra? Pradeepa Bhutam Sarvasham Vidyanam. It is like the lamp for all other Vidyas. Means if you know this, then you can understand all other Vidyas. If you don't know this, you will not understand. So therefore, in about Patanjali Mahabhashya, which is an explanation of Panini Sutras, it's such a wonderful work. So there it is said that either you study Mahabhashya or you rule the world. They are equal. So means if you can study Mahabhashya, Patanjali, you are like a ruler of the world. You are a king. You are actually more than king. Swadese pujyate raja vidwan sarvatra pujyate. King is respected in his own land, but vidwan, wherever he goes, he is respected. So therefore it says Pradeepa Bhutam Sarvasham Vidyanam Yadavasthitam. That this is the light for all the Vidyas. Therefore every effort should be made to study this. There is a very nice sloka here. Yadyapi bahunadhishe tathapi pathaputra vyakaranam. So swajana swajano ma bhut saklam shaklam sakrit shakrit. That father is telling to the son who did not want to go to school. He says, I don't want to study. You have made enough money. This is the problem these days. Parents, they make a lot of money for their children, and children say, why do I have to work? So they don't want to study. So that's also not good. Don't make too much money. That's why in India there was a system, that after 50 it takes vanprastha. Let the children do their own work. Now people are 80 and they're still planning to make money. They go on making money. Why are you making money? It's not going to go with you. So he says that even if you don't study too many things, please study Vyakarana. So the son said, why? What is so special about Vyakarana? He said, at least you understand the difference between Swajana and Swajana. You understand the difference between a relative and a dog. Otherwise, you may be calling a dog as your relative, because many times people pronounce Sha as Sa. So he is Swajana and you are going to call him Swajana. That's not so bad, because many people are like that these days. Right? These days many people are making Swajanas as their Swajanas. Modern culture is like that. Modern culture people will say, what is wrong with this? Right? They will say, Swajana is a Swajana only. And rather, Swajana is better than Swajana. Swajana is not reliable. Swajana is more reliable. So then he says, Sakalam Shakalam. So you know the difference between complete and part, and know the difference between Sakrit and Shakrit. Sakrit means once and Shakrit means the feces. So at least you know the difference between these things, which means you learn grammar so that you can learn at least to speak properly, pronounce things properly, and convey your ideas properly. So after all, language means that I want to convey some of my ideas, thoughts to another person, and the medium is bhasha for that. So bhashyate anena iti, bhasha, by which I express myself. So expressing myself means expressing my thoughts to another person, and that is expressed through language. So then I have to understand it properly. And Sanskrit is the language which is very precise. In any other language, it is very difficult. If you know Indian English and you go to America, you have a trouble in it. Right? So there is American English, then there is British English, then there is Indian English, and in India there are many Englishes. So the Bengalis speak one way, the Punjabis speak another way, right? Tamil people, so there is Tinglish, English, Benglish, Pinglish. Yes. There are all varieties of English. Right? So they all have different ways of saying the same thing, pronouncing the same thing. But Sanskrit is not like that. It is very precise, whether you are from India or West, or you are from North or South. If you know proper Sanskrit, then there is only one way of saying it, and you learn it that way. There is no such variation of accents as you find. So this problem does not exist here. Otherwise, this is actually a problem. If you are not accustomed the way Americans pronounce, then you are in trouble. Either they will not understand you, and you will not understand them, and cannot communicate. Although both know English. If you write, both will understand. But when you speak, then you have a problem. And actually language is not something written thing. Written came later on. The prime language is spoken. When you speak it, there are so many things you express by speaking. You cannot express them in writing. The way you say it, the tone, where you give the pause, all these things cannot be expressed in writing. And the modern research says that it's only like some 23 or 25% that you convey through words. The rest is understood by the way you say it, your expressions. They have a certain percentage for this. So that's why in India the thing was not written for a long time. That's why it is called Shruti. That you have to hear it. So that is the function of buddhi. There is a very one nice sloka. I just put it in the very beginning of this here from Mahabharata 1 Parva. It's quite amazing that these things are written in Mahabharata. People are doing research on this now. It says, Sushrusha Shravanam Chaiva Grahanam Dharanam Tatha Uha Poho Artha Vigyanam Tattva Gyanam Cha Dhi Gunaha. He says these are the qualities of Dhi, the intellect. Sushrusha, the hearing. Hearing is different than just sound going into the ears. You need it. Then Sushrusha actually means the desire to hear actually. And then Shravanam, hearing, Chaiva, Grahanam, then understanding it, grasping it, Dharanam, then holding it, then Uha, deliberating on it, Uha Poha, Artha Vigyanam, then understanding the meaning of what is being said, and Tattva Gyanam, and to understand the essence. He says these are all the qualities of the buddhi, dhiguna. So this is, all these things get refined when you study Vyakarana. One who has not studied Vyakarana, then he will have problem in all these things. And Vyakarana here means, I am talking about Sanskrit Vyakarana, not anything else. Because you can also have Hindi Vyakarana, Telugu Vyakarana, Odia Vyakarana, but I am talking about Sanskrit Vyakarana. So Sanskrit Vyakarana is a great tool to formulate the mind of a child. That's why it is called also Shishu Shastram. That it is the Shastra for the Shishu, for the child. That the child would begin with this. So among the 6 Vedangas, besides Vyakarana, the other one is Shiksha. So Shiksha, generally we know Shiksha means education. Right? The word Shishya, the disciple, and Shiksha, they are all coming from the same root, Shish. So why the Shiksha is called, pronunciation is called Shiksha? Because before Vyakaranam actually comes Shiksha. That your education, traditionally, this I just learned very recently from my teacher. I did not know that. I thought Shiksha is coming later. He says, no, first thing which was taught was Shiksha. And that's why it is called, it has been given the name as Shiksha, because you begin with it. Your education begins with Shiksha. That first thing you have to learn is how to pronounce. So there is a whole Shastra just which teaches you how you should pronounce things. Because when you come to Vyakaranam, then you are going to learn the words. But before that you have already learned how to pronounce. So therefore they go together. Shiksha Granam tu Vedasya Mukham Vyakaranam Smritam. So this Vyakaranam therefore is so important that it is said that if you can master even one word properly, then ekah shabda samyak gyata sushtu prayukta swarge loke kamadukha bhavati. That even one word, if you have understood properly and you can utilize it properly, it can fulfill your wishes. So that Eka Shabda is not mentioned here, but Eka Shabda is, you can say Om. So even Brahma, he has to learn it at the beginning first. It's not that he was just knowing it, he also has to learn it. And then he got the knowledge of the Vedas, and then all this knowledge was given to the humanity for their benefit. So Patanjali says that a Brahman should study the Vedas, which includes Vedangas, without any reason. So Brahmanena niskarano dharmaha shadango vedo dhyeyo geyascha. So that was actually the purpose of Brahmana. The word Brahman also means Veda. The word Brahman, Brahmana, they come from the same root, Brahma. So why is it? Because Brahmana's purpose was actually to study the Vedas and then give knowledge to others. Because he is the head of the society, just like in our body we have the head, and the whole body functions according to the state of the head. Head also means chief. As we said, Mukha, Mukhya, chief, primary. So everything functions according to what is here. So they designed this society like that one set of people, their job was only to get the knowledge and then continue it down. It's not that knowledge is there in book and then there is no problem, because if it is only in the book, it doesn't have much purpose. So pustakasthetu ya vidya parhastagatam dhanam karya kale samat punne nasa vidya na tad dhanam. The knowledge which is in the book and the money which you have loaned to somebody, so they are useless, because when you need them you won't have it. So karya kale samutpanne, when there is a need to, when you need, then nasa vidya na tadhanam, then that vidya is not vidya, then money is only when I need it, I can use it. But if I gave it to somebody, now he is not going to give you when you need it, obviously. And if it is in the book only and it is not in your head, then when you need it, the book will not open suddenly, read me here and use me. No, it has to be ingested. We have to have it in our head. So that's why Brahmana, that was the meaning of Brahmana. Now people do not have this understanding and all this criticism for everything. But that it is for this reason that Brahmana was so much respected. Even Krishna is called Brahmanya Deva, Namanu Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahman Hitaya. Why he is called Go Brahman Hitaya? Because Brahmanas are doing hita to the society, and therefore Krishna, he respects them, he protects them. Because then society flourishes. But if the Brahmana is not doing his job properly, then the whole society will go down, which is the situation at present. So Brahmana had a big responsibility. He was not given respect just like that. He had a big burden on his head. Because one who knows, he also has a responsibility. If somebody is ignorant, then what can he do? So it was their responsibility to guide even the kings and people in general. And for that they have to do so much tapasya. As it was says that yatnena, that you should do upasana. They have to do big effort for that. So that's what Patanjali is mentioning here. So therefore this Shabda, Vyakarana is very important. What is Vyakarana actually means? Says Vyakriyante apshabdebhya sadhu shabda prithakkriyante anena iti Vyakaranam. Vyakaranam, the main function of Vyakaranam is that it teaches you what is the proper word and what is the improper word. Because if you use proper word, then you get a dharma. And if you use improper word, you get adharma. And this is only in Sanskrit. There is no other language where you use proper words, you are going to get dharma. That's why it says eka shabda sushtu gyata prayukta kamduk bhavati swarge loke ja kamduk bhavati. That is the meaning. So therefore our rishis, they made so much effort to make this Vyakaran so that you know what is the sadhu sabda, what is the proper word. It is not some people are saying Gaya, some people are saying Gavadi, some people are saying Gau, some people are saying Go. What is the proper word? So that will be known only from the Vyakarana. So therefore Vyakriyante apshabdebha sadhu shabda prithakkriyante. It separates, this is the sadhu shabda, and everything else is asadhu. So therefore we have to study that. And it is therefore called also Shabdanushashan. So Shabda Anushishyante. Apshabdebhya vivichya bodhyante anena. It is an anushashan. It is a discipline of Shabda. So Shabda does not mean word again. You cannot translate Shabda as word. Shabda has so many meanings. Shabda means the word which we call word in English. Shabda also means Prakriti. Shabda also means Pratyaya. Shabda also means Shabda Pramana. Right? We also use, right? That there are three types of Pramanas. Shabda Pramana, Pratyaksh Pramana, Anuman Pramana, Shabda Pramana. So there Shabda does not mean word. It means a sentence. So Shabda also means a sentence. Shabda also means a whole book. Like Vyakarana is called Shabda Anushasana, Shabda Shastra, Shabda Brahma. So phoneme is Shabda, sentence is Shabda, Pratyaya, the root word is Shabda, suffixes are Shabda, and then Shabda are at 4 level. There is a Para level, Pashyanti level, Madhyama level, Vaikhari level. So Vyakaranam is only dealing with the Vaikhari Shabda. Vyakaranam is not dealing with Pashyanti, Madhyama, Pashyanti and Para. Although when you study Mahabhashya or you study Vakyapadiyam, etc., which are talking about the philosophy behind it, then they talk about the other Shabda, other levels of Shabdas, Madhyama. So in the Shiksha, which we are not going to study, it is described how the sound is generated and from which parts of the body the sound is generated. First you have the thought in your mind when you want to speak, and then according to thought, then you want to use words. So words, first the thought comes, and then thought goes and hits the fire of digestion, Jatragni, in the Nabhidesh. That's why Ayurveda says that don't give lecture or don't sing after eating. It is specifically forbidden that right after eating you should not talk or you should not sing. Because singing and talking, all this needs Jatragni. So then that Jatragni then pushes the air. And then that air comes up to the heart, and then it comes up in the chest and to the vocal cords, and then you use whatever you want to pronounce. So the throat, all these 5 places in the mouth, the head, the chest, they are all utilized in speaking. So there is a lot of actually instruments of this body, lot of parts which are used in speaking. Although it looks simple and as if very effortlessly it is coming, but there are so many things which are involved in it. And you can feel it if you have some pain in the body. Then you know that how much effort it takes to talk or sing. So that is all described in Shiksha Shastra. Vyakaranam does not deal with that. Although little bit of mention will come in the first sutra of Harinamamrta Vyakarana about it. So this is what I wanted to speak in general about Vyakaranam, how important it is, and keeping all this in mind, Jiva Goswami composed Harinamamrta Vyakarana. That it is so important for the Vaishnavas, and Vaishnavas like to chant the name of Krishna. So can you imagine how much he studied? He studied so many Vyakaranas. Besides Panini, Mahabhashya, Vakyapadiyam, and then all this Padamanjari and Chandra Vyakarana, Katantra Vyakarana, Saraswat. All this he studied. And then he composed this. So this does not include Vedic part in it. Panini Vyakarana is complete in itself, and therefore Panini is the only one which can be truly called as Vedanga, because it also has Vedic part of the grammar. Jiva Goswami did not include because his purpose was mainly for the Vaishnavas, so that they can learn this, because that Vedic part is not useful for us unless you study Vedas, which we are not doing, and practically nobody is studying it. So this is good enough. This gives very wonderful knowledge. So from tomorrow we'll start reading it, but I will go slow And because my classes are anyway 3 classes per week, not every day, because there are other days I have classes and it's too much for me to have my class and teach. So but still we will go, because I want that you grasp it and understand it, and as far as possible try to memorize the sutras. And I will also memorize, because I memorized long ago. I studied it 30 years ago. After that I taught it few times, but except for 2 people, nobody really completed it.